A girl turned on 500 East and 1070 South, caught air, took out one of the speed limit signs, and kept going. Luckily, there was not a child on that sidewalk or he would have been killed. This cannot happen. We do not need any more traffic in this neighborhood. We all have children. We all have families. Orem is Family City USA. We need to protect that. These children need to be able to be outside, playing with friends, riding bikes, and not worried that somebody is going to fly through this neighborhood and take them out. Please consider those of us that have lived here longer than the right group has owned this property and what's important to us, and those of us that voted to put you into this position due to the promise of no more high density. Thank you.
My name is Jared Fisher. I have not lived here as long as she has. I've lived here for 2.5 years at the corner of 9th and 550. We live on the corner of that cul-de-sac that people come and scream down and see that they can't get to Costco and then turn around. And I guess they don't scream down. Generally, they're pretty good when they come into the neighborhood and then they see they can't get where they're going and they double their speed on the way out. I'm a statistician by trade, so I like to talk numbers, but for me, the neighborhood's somewhat about vision. I want to fix up my fence. I want to build a garage someday. I want to invest in my house, and I don't feel like I can right now because I don't know if our neighborhood will exist in 10 years. It's gradually eaten up. I want something beautiful to be built on that medical property. It'd be great. But I also want my 4 kids to be safe, and I want to know that I can live in my neighborhood a long time. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Josue Alvarez. I've been living here for 8 years. And I just want to tell you, these are the best people I've ever been around with. This neighborhood is beautiful. I've learned a lot from my neighbors. They're amazing people. And just to see this happening, I think it's like they're the ones who built this. They've been here the longest, right? That place where this place is about to be built it's sacred to me. These people are amazing. The history is just amazing, and just to see that this is like, I don't know if it's approved or not, but I feel like they're being bullied. They're the ones that built this place, and I'm totally against this. I hope that you guys can have a heart and feel the love that the people in the neighborhood have for the city, and it feels to me in my heart that it's like a big bully here, right? And the heroes are being bullied. And if the heroes want this place not to be built because it's going to bring all this negative stuff, why not hear them, right? I love this city, and I've been here 8 years, and right now we don't need this apartments in here. We don't need this at all, and we need to listen to the voices here. They're very sacred to me. And I just want to say that I know in my heart that this is wrong. Building this big apartment complex it's not going to bring positive stuff here. And especially for schools. Schools were hit pretty hard by some changes and the closing down of schools, and now adding 300 apartments or plus. Just think about what it's going to do to the parking spaces, to the transportation. It's going to be bad. So I just got to say that with my heart. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Gessel. I just moved into the neighborhood a year ago, last December. A great little neighborhood. Love your city of Orem. I moved from the state of Washington. I love Orem. I love the rec center. I love the fact that you got those family dressing rooms or whatever. Wonderful place to be. We love your parks. We love your, all the festivities. We love it here. We just love, I just chose this place to retire. I could have retired in a lot of places, chose here. And we love it here. But this seems like a major disaster. One key thing that I like to make sure that we understand and maybe go in more depth discussion is on the traffic study. As I look at this development, this 600 car development, there's 3 entrances in the development, 2 of which go across State Street. In other words, if you're heading southbound on State Street and you decide not to turn left at 800 South, which is the only light, you can come further south and you can turn into this complex, but you have to wait for all the northbound traffic, or you can go to 9th South. And then once again, you have to wait for all the northbound traffic. So my wife and I come home from the rec center in the morning and I say, here, turn here at 9th South because there's no cars. You get down a little farther, there's lots of cars. And she never does that. She always goes down to the tattoo parlor or the Burger King, whatever it is. I don't know what those streets are, but I can guarantee you that if people are there at 9th South and they can't get in because there's 3 or 4 cars and there's a lot of traffic going northbound on State Street, they're going to go down to one of those other entrances into development, which will take them down to the tattoo parlor or down to Burger King. They're going to turn in there and then they're going to have to race through our neighborhood to get back to the apartment complex. There's no way in the world you can control that. Unfortunately, there's only 3 entrances to this place and only one of them has a light, and that light is at 8 South. And that means that people go to 8 South, they coming southbound on State Street, they go to 8 South, they take a left, and that's going to back up. So the city of Orem is going to have to deal with the traffic. I'll call bogus on the traffic study. I don't know what the traffic study says, but I'd like to take an in-depth look at it because I think it's bogus. And the city of Orem is going to have to deal with that. People turning left on 8 South, heading southbound on State Street, and the traffic backing up at that light. So you're going to have to time that light a lot differently. Either that or the people are going to go down past 8 South to 9th South, and they're going to have to wait and wait and wait. You get 3 or 4 cars piled up, they're just going to go down to one of the next entrances down further south, and they're going to turn through, which means they have to come through our neighborhood to get there up fourth, what is that, 4th east. So anyway, bottom line is I'm calling bogus on the traffic study. I'd like to take a look at that, and I think you should too. That's it.
My name is Linda Sheldon. I live kitty corner to this development. A couple of months ago, I think I was out walking. I might have been in my car. I don't remember, but I saw, it's been mentioned that people will drive in trying to find the mall. And there's a stop sign coming in on 900 South. They whizzed through the stop sign going over the speed limit all the way down to the wall that goes in the mall and came back way over the speed limit. And it scared me half to death. Another thing, something that people haven't brought up yet is we've got a car dealership there on 900 South. We have people test driving cars that come in and out of our neighborhood, people that we don't know, don't always obeying the speed limit or the speed dip. They park cars on both sides of 900 South. So sometimes I can't even get through 900 South because the car's parking. As a single, I often get invited to activities at these large apartment complexes, and I don't go. There is no visitor parking anytime there is an activity at these apartment complexes because there is no parking. Sometimes there's not even adjacent parking. So I'm going to end up with people parking in front of my house, which makes me very nervous. I've got a rental property across the street from my house with more cars than people that are supposed to be there. It makes me nervous when people are parking in front of my house that I don't know. I'm all alone. Well, I should be all alone, another story. But it makes me nervous that we're going to have weird people parking at our church. If we can block off 9th South, that would be great. But yeah, I do not want weird people parking in front of my house. I don't want people whizzing through going 90 miles an hour. So thank you.
My name's Annette Olson, and I respectfully request that you vote against the settlement. I agree with all of the other things that have been said. I think it will be a problem for Orem City because the traffic is already backed up so badly on State Street and on 8th South. You add 600 more cars trying to get in and out of there, and it is going to be a much worse bottleneck than it already is. Thank you.
Ralph Olson. My history in this neighborhood goes back to the early 1960s when my older siblings were living on the very block where I live now. I've seen a lot of Orem history since 1960, 61, and 62. And I love Orem. I've always loved Orem. I remember as a boy waking up in the morning where my sister and her husband lived, faced east, and I remember the sun coming up over the mountains. I'll never forget it. I was so impressed. I'd never seen that before. I want to register my vote that I'm very against the compromise. I don't think it solves anything to compromise compared to what was proposed before. I'm sorry, actually, that the original proposal way back when for a bank and other things was, I think it was previous city council. In a way, I feel for you trying to dig your way out of a previous city council mistake in my opinion, to approve such a thing, forcing us into this kind of a compromise, no compromise, lawsuit, blah, blah, blah situation. On the way up the hill, coming into Orem, on the diagonal, there's a monument or a notice that says Orem, welcome to Orem, Family City, USA. Is that going to be a tombstone or is that going to be a prophecy? I hope it's a prophecy. And even though it's a difficult decision to proceed with a lawsuit, send me the bill. Send me my part of the bill. I'll be happy to put my money on the lawsuit and declare unequivocally that we've had way, way too much high density housing and it's not family oriented. This kind of high density housing, 12 units that have enough bedrooms to actually have a little family, that's not Family City, USA. 2/3 of the units either have no bedroom or one bedroom. Either you pull a bed down out of the wall or you might have one bedroom. That's enough maybe for 2 people, but not what I would call a family. Let's get our values straight and correct the mistakes as best we can that have been made in the past, move forward the best we can, but this compromise is not the way to do it. Thank you.
Hi, I know I came in with my little petty concerns at the start of the meeting, but in the last 4 hours that I've been here, I know, you know, it's fun for me to listen to these concerns, and I haven't had a chance to go to the court building and change my name, so I'm still Mike Christensen, but and I've lived here in Orem for 20 years, literally, up there. I don't live in that neighborhood, but I've lived in low density condos housing up by the Macy's grocery store. McDonald's knows where I live, I think. And listening to this, the neighbors back there have, at first I kind of felt sort of neutral, but now I'm starting to kind of get the point. And this guy who brought up the Pottersville from It's a Wonderful Life, I love that movie too. And I don't want to see this become like a Pottersville. And if I had, I don't know how feasible this would be, but I don't know like what our tax monies would allow. But if we had the ability to put our taxes towards buying that property from these guys, turning it into another park, because that lady was talking about they didn't have a park over there. It would be nice to see if we could kind of maybe get some fencing up and things and grass and a playground and whatever they kind of need over there. Could our taxes afford that? So that's kind of a thought that I have, but even though I don't even have kids myself yet. So think about that too. And I guess that's it for me.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Palmer. We own one of the 2 properties across the street on 4th East from this proposed development. Someone mentioned earlier in a prior part of the council not being able to see the sunset again. That would be us. We didn't have the afternoon sun. There are concerns. but I've heard nothing tonight about solutions except the last speaker, possibly. What would be the alternative? To buy them out? Can I afford that? No. Is the zoning going to like that? No. Is the zoning probable to be put into a park? Not likely. If the Orem has deep pockets, those are all possibilities. I have one proposal that may be considered. I checked with the city and it is zoned for medical. If the Wrights wanted to put 2 floors of medical, all of us have doctors. I'd find it much more agreeable if we could walk across the street to our doctor. If we have to go where we go now, there wouldn't be that much change in the blueprint. They'd be able to run oxygen lines or other things to make it work. But that would be more agreeable if they're willing to do something besides just suck it in. I don't know what the options are. If the lawsuit goes forward, I don't see any winning for the neighborhood either. If the city were to win, they still have the rights. There's going to be a settlement somewhere. I can't afford that. I don't want my taxes to go up, but I do want a good neighborhood. My roots go back there past 1947. I've lived there as a child and grew up. My wife and I owned a place on 8 South, and when the city wanted to enlarge the traffic for Costco, they came to us and said, guess what? We're buying your home. They gave us 10% about what their appraisal was, and trying to be good citizens, since we already moved out of that home, we complied. And we put the money towards this home, which we've had. After the last tenant, we spent thousands of dollars on upgrading this home with the hope that one day we could move back into it, back into the place we love. I want you to know that I love Orem City. I always have. I think I always will. But I want you to consider this. If you did make that kind of change, they could even name it the Wright Medical Art Community, whatever they wanted to do. But I hope it will be considered. Thank you.
Mayor, may I have 1 minute? To make
Okay.
up for the minute I lost getting
Well,
up there.
We do need to bring this to a close.
I just want to
so-
thank the,
So I'll go ahead and go, but then, yeah, we need to move forward. So go ahead.
I just want to thank the city council for what you have accomplished in the last 2 years. I appreciate it greatly. You've turned things around. We need to keep it there. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll go ahead and close the public comment, and we appreciate all of your comments and thoughts. And we'll turn it back to the council. Is there anybody who wants to go first?
I'm not raising my hand, but I do have a question. Is it Spencer Wright? So quite a few of the citizens spoke about it may be a different project. And I know you're well into this project quite a bit, but is that something that you might be willing to look at, or
To look
Trust-
at a different project?
maybe a medical? I don't know. I
Um,
know you're well into this over 2 or 3 years, but I don't know. It was a good question by the citizens.
Yeah, it's a reasonable question. I think the answer is no, not at this time.
Okay.
Okay, so is Jeff still up there? Okay. Nobody wants to talk. Nobody likes this. Maybe I'll just throw out some things just to start the conversation with the council. Okay. So I fully empathize with the neighbors here tonight. I mean, I really do. I mean, the reason I ran for mayor 2.5 years ago was because I was sick of all the high density. And no matter what we were told, it just kept coming and coming and coming. And, but I feel like I'm up here with like one hand behind my back tonight because I can't tell you the full story of what's going on here. There's more of the story. At some point, we can tell you the rest of the story, but right now we can't. We've been in meetings with attorneys at least, I don't know, 4 or 5 different times over the last couple of years. And our attorneys have advised us that from a risk standpoint, a significant risk standpoint, we're much better off to settle this. Now, we don't want to. It makes us sick, but that's what we're being advised legally. And where we are tonight, I mean, to put it straight, where the blame lies is because of previous city leadership. From 2012 to through 2021, city leadership approved 3,336 apartments. They regularly promised to slow the growth of the apartments, but they never did. August 9th, 2021, I'm sure that's a date you remember. This all came to a head in the city council meeting when the council adopted a moratorium against future high density until the city could put in place a new plan regarding high density. And that came on the heels of so many citizens being so sick of just being this steamroller that kept adding high density. And I would encourage you to get a context of what we're dealing with tonight. I'd encourage you to go back and watch that council meeting during the Bright Development portion, and you'll understand why we're in this situation tonight. Particularly watch the voting section in that August 9th meeting, because kind of what's going on here is, like I said, I fully understand where you're coming from. I can fully empathize with it, but you've only got part of the story, because you're basically making the arguments that were made 2.5 years ago when this all started. It's the same arguments, and I completely agree with them. But now we're in a completely different spot because we're in a legal battle. Like I say, that's gone on ever since then. As you well know, upon taking city, the new city council adopted a plan to stop the 10,000 apartments plan for State Street in the State Street master plan. This particular apartment project was one that got kind of in as that was all happening. And like I said before, our current city council has not approved any high density apartments in the last 2 years. Any high density apartments you see being built in the last couple of years are the result of agreements made by the previous mayor and city council. So, like I say, my personal preference would be to not move the project forward. I mean, that's how I'm wired, and that's what I completely believe. But we're just not making that decision in a vacuum. We've got to look at, and different people have different opinions on this, but we have to look at the total liability to the city in the context of making this decision. So where we're at right now is we have to choose between basically 2 bad options. And I believe it's my responsibility to the city of Orem to take the option that minimizes the risk to our taxpayers and citizens, as well as you folks. And on that premise, just like I haven't ever done any high density, and I don't accept this high density either, because I had nothing to do with it. It's just like dropped in our lap. But just like I haven't done any high density, I haven't done any taxes. There have been no new taxes to Orem since this group got in. So our two options, option one, we refuse the settlement and the outcome's unknown. And that's where the legal risk comes in. And then you go into, if we win the continuing lawsuit and the development is stopped, they still own the property and we still have to go down a different path with them. If we lose, and as far as us winning the lawsuit, we have to look from a practical standpoint, what are the probabilities? And us winning versus us losing, we have to look at that. But if we do lose, then the city will pay the damages from that decision and the development goes in anyway. So we basically lose twice. We lose the lawsuit and we lose the control, the size, impact and look of the project. Now, option two, we accept the settlement agreement and the outcome is known. The building height goes from 78 and 7 stories to 52 feet and 4 stories. And we don't impose any unknown additional costs on our citizens and taxpayers. So like I say, I feel like we're kind of fighting two different arguments. If it was black and white and we're sitting here 2 years ago and this is requested, it would have never got approved with the current city council. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Everybody's going to have their own opinion. It really comes down to a risk reward, how much risk we're willing to put the city through in order to not accept this settlement. It's a legal risk. So anyway, with that, feel free to say whatever you think. And let me say two more things. I would encourage the developer to take a hard thought about this whole thing. I think you've heard the citizens, you've heard the impositions that would be in their lives. You've heard how they've lived here and that it's complicated things. But from, just dig deep and think, is that what you want your legacy to be? Or is there something else that you could do? Or do we figure out, how do we have the least possible impact on the neighborhood? I live over by Mountain View High School. Right after we built our house over there, we were informed that they were going to put a 500-unit apartment complex in there. That became a battle, and the city basically granted the family the right to build that gigantic apartment complex. We went back with that group, and I remember, and I understand your world completely, and not completely, but the development side. But when we did that, they got that approved. We sat down with them, we went through, and it didn't make sense to do the gigantic apartment project they were proposing. And so they backpedaled and that's where Target is now. So they put in Target, that Target went up, and basically the back of the building is just a concrete wall, but there's, 50, 60 feet of landscaping all in there. So we don't even know the Target's there. So anyway, there's options, there's things to think about. So you completely have my empathy. I'm in a very difficult situation, but we'll go ahead. Yeah, why don't we start with
I don't mind. However you want to do it, Mayor.
Yeah, we can start with Jeff. Jeff?
Hi, Mayor. I think you expressed very well my feelings and my concerns. And the only thing that I would add to what you've said is that perhaps, going forward, depending on where this goes, if it is approved, if there are some things that the city can do as far as red curbing, sidewalks and things like that, signage. I know that we've talked about that a little bit before, but some things that we can do to mitigate the traffic going through those neighborhoods and to calm that situation and that concern. But I think you expressed very well, Mayor, my thoughts and my concerns this evening.
Thank you. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor. As maybe the swing vote 2 years ago, one of 4 people who voted for the moratorium, we thought we were solving all problems. And I think you echoed the concerns that this had gotten far enough along that we're not in love with it, but we understand it. So I would echo what you said, Mayor. Thank you.
Terry? I'm not pausing because I don't know what to say. I'm pausing because I'm so darn angry that I'm trying to keep my composure. To me, it's about quality of life, and it's about being respectful to the citizens in the city. And it's not about caving into a high-density developer. So, Mr. Wright, I feel sorry for your situation. I feel sorry for my understanding that at one time you wanted to do commercial, and the current city council didn't support that. Shame on them. So, I mean, I've got all sorts of random thoughts. Heather, I represent you and your 3 kids. Is that Heather right there? I represent Chad Brown and your 3 children. I represent the 50 children that live in that area. I represent Debbie Lamb and her 6 children. I have an 8, it's either 6 or 8. I couldn't read my writing. Anyway, I also grew up playing in the Sierra. I scraped the gum off the floor of the Sierra. So I understand walking down to this. I lived up by the Orem High School and walked down 4th East. I don't know what I'd say to you when someone says, you know, don't worry about it, but you'll never see Timpanogos again. So probably take a picture of it and put it in your house, because after this is built, you won't be able to see Timpanogos. I don't know what I'd say to that. After it's built, they're going to have to widen 9th South, right? How else are you going to get in there? 4th East? And please show me a high density development in the city where there's adequate parking. Just show me one. Oh, let's go over to Ashton Apartments and see what that looks like at the mall where they're parked in Costco. Let's just drive around and see where we can find one. So 1/3 of these apartments will be 2 and 3 bedroom. Not, we're talking about studios, but 89 are 2 bedroom, 12 are 3 bedroom. That's 32.5%. That's 1/3 of the places will be 2 and 3 bedroom. I don't know. I just got ran. And Gerald's right. There was no negotiation. Nothing was given up. I understand what the mayor's saying. I understand the risk, but litigation is interesting, and there's no guarantees. For example, maybe some of you will disagree with this, but O.J. Simpson killed his ex-wife and her boyfriend. I'm sorry, but I mean, and some people might disagree with that, but I think most of the people in our country would say absolutely. But I went to litigation and he was found innocent, at least in the criminal trial, right? So litigation is interesting. Right development, they're developers. I don't know why you'd want to take on people in this neighborhood and think that you might win this battle. You've got other properties in the city. Really? Do you want to have that kind of reputation? Or do you want to say, let's work something out? Maybe we do commercial here. So State Street is definitely open for business. We really welcome commercial up and down State Street. It helps us with our tax base as citizens. So I'm strongly supportive of commercial up and down State Street. I will absolutely vote against any kind of compromise. I said that from the first. I don't criticize my fellow members of the city council. I've sat in those closed meetings with the attorneys like the rest of them. And I just think there's an issue called quality of life to me, which is a bigger issue to me than somebody threatening that we might sue or we are suing. Okay, so that's.
Okay, I was part of the council when we did do the State Street Master Plan. And I have to tell you, the main premise of that was to protect neighborhoods from development and to move any development to State Street. I honestly promise you that was the thinking. We made it so that the most you could have, I think it was a PRD, which was seven homes to the acre. Correct me, Jason, is it 7? PRD, yeah. The idea was we did not want apartments, high density, anything in your neighborhoods. It was to protect your neighborhoods. And I'm telling you, that was the main thinking. So to move things onto State Street was where the thinking was put it there, protect the neighborhoods. Okay, I'm just telling you that's what was the thought. I am sensitive to the neighborhoods, and I would certainly encourage the developer to work. Seriously, if you want to change the plan, I think we'd be amenable to that. I am not willing, though, to risk more money on this particular lawsuit. I have weighed this. I've been into many meetings. I've thought a lot about it. So I will be voting to settle this. So thank you. That's fine. You can boo me. I have thought about it a lot. Thank
you. So this is really a difficult issue for us as a council. And for me in particular, when I first moved to Orem over 30 years ago, I lived in this neighborhood. It has wonderful historic homes. And the one thing that I have heard mentioned before, but I didn't hear it tonight, is in our quest and our emphasis and our constant chatter and talk and push from the governor and everybody else about affordable housing, this neighborhood has owner-occupied affordable housing. It is providing that for our city. So to create a neighborhood that has such a great quality of life to go along with that affordable housing is just amazing that we have that here in Orem. Having lived there, I understand the situation and the safety concerns that a high-density project would cause for this neighborhood. One of the reasons that I ran for city council was to protect the Orem neighborhoods against high-density housing. High-density apartments is what I'm going to call them because they're really not affordable housing at all. This proposed development is the definition of high-density apartments encroaching on a neighborhood. While the front of the development is on State Street, the two exits that will be most utilized are on the back of the development and pour directly into two separate neighborhood streets. This access is invasive and dangerous. On the State Street side is the danger too. Other apartments on State Street that we have here in Orem don't have access to the neighborhoods behind them. Traffic from high-density housing should not empty into neighborhoods. I have no doubt that this development will cause safety issues as the increased traffic will expose the neighborhood children, and I've seen those neighborhood children as I've driven in the neighborhood, to increase possibilities of being struck by a car. I do believe that this development that's being proposed will reduce the quality of life and overall will increase the emotional distress for citizens, which is exactly one of the reasons that was stated in the reason for the moratorium, for the legal moratorium. Heaven forbid that the increased traffic, which this development will undoubtedly cause, will result in the injury of a child in this neighborhood. Now, just for historical context, we've talked about a little bit tonight, but I want to emphasize this. I was in a public meeting held with the neighbors for this development back in 2021 at the time I was running for city council. Right, Logan? I met you there for the first time. At that meeting, the developers' representatives said that this was not even the development that they wanted to do, but was forced on them by the old State Street Master Plan. I wish the State Street Master Plan had never been voted into law by the previous city councils. Then this wonderful developer, I think they have good intentions, but this developer could have built the bank that they wanted. And right development, I just want to clarify, when they purchased this property, it was zoned commercial. They knew it was zoned commercial. They wanted to build commercial. I'm going to say this, but they should be a good neighbor and build commercial. Now, at this point, the city has legal exposure. The proposed agreement is an attempt to settle a lawsuit as the outcome is uncertain and could result in a worse outcome for the city and for the residents.
I certainly feel a duty to protect the city and to safeguard the taxpayers' money. This is a no-win vote. Let's be perfectly clear. The reason we are faced with this difficult decision tonight is the failed State Street Master Plan and those previous city council members who supported it. And some of them are still out in the community supporting it. I wish they were here in this meeting to face you. For almost 5 years, the State Street Master Plan stifled redevelopment on State Street by limiting remodels, which was an unintended consequence that didn't respect the property rights of business owners. We talk property rights, let's look at that too. I was opposed to the State Street Master Plan when it passed in 2018. And as a resident in 2021, I helped to bring awareness to these unintended consequences of unlimited height. I could go on, I won't go in relitigate that, but I joined the council in January of 2022. My first month on the council, we made the needed tough decisions, which we took a lot of heat for, to set in motion the repeal of the State Street Master Plan before the moratorium expired. And once again, unfortunately, because of prior city council's decision to implement the State Street Master Plan, I am forced to vote on this issue tonight. And it is truly a no-win. And that's all I have to say right now.
Thank you, Lene, for that short speech. I called for the moratorium back in 2021, because I'm against high density on State Street. I did vote for the State Street Master Plan back in 2015 or 18 or whatever it was. But what we were sold was not what we had in the State Street Master Plan. We went to Oregon and they showed us these apartments that were 3 stories and had commercial on the bottom. And it was nice, but not 100 feet. That's garbage. So that's why we put the moratorium on State Street. The key thing is, I think we need to keep the integrity of our neighborhood. And I would hope that right development would, in good faith, go and meet with the neighbors and maybe come to a solution and take their ideas, and maybe you can implement that instead of, no, this is the way it is. We were 351, now we're 11, and maybe in good faith do that. And I think that would speak volumes for the citizens of Orem and also the city council in the city. So my advice would be, maybe you need to regroup and meet with the neighbors in good faith, and then go from there, and then see what you can come up with. And maybe it is a development, but maybe there's a wall or something, as the mayor said. But I do not like high density on State Street. I never will. And it's been said that if you're not growing, you're dying, which I don't believe that. I think Orem is built out, and I think we're thriving. And people want to come to Orem, and businesses want to come to Orem. Why? Because we're Family City USA, and we listen to the citizens. Thank you.
Does anyone have any follow-ups on any of that? Jeff, do you have anything additional?
No, thanks, Mayor.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to move forward? Probably not.
I can do it.
Okay.
I move that we consider a proposed settlement agreement between Right Development Group and the City of Orem regarding development of the property located generally at 841 South State Street, former Meadow Gold property.
Could I interject here? So I know that was the title of the agenda item, to consider it, but right now you would be making a motion to either approve it or to deny it. And then if the motion is to approve it, could you possibly add and authorize the mayor to sign on behalf of the city?
Okay. I move that we approve the proposed settlement agreement between Right Development Group and the City of Orem regarding development of the property located generally at 841 South State Street, formerly Meadow Gold property, and authorize the mayor to sign, what am I saying?
To sign the proposed settlement.
to sign the proposed settlement.
Second.
Jeff, would you like to start?
Aye.
Aye.
This is really one sad day for Orem City. No.
I agree. This is one sad day for Orem City. Aye.
Aye.
While I'd like to protect the city and limits its exposure, I don't feel that I can, in good conscience, vote for this development agreement settlement. I support the moratorium. Since I've been on the council, I've stood firm to support the neighborhood. I'm voting no, and I'm urging Right Development to be a good neighbor and to bring us a development that is in harmony with the current zoning of commercial zoning.
I too would hope you'd meet in good faith with the neighbors. I'm never a flopper, but I've flipped my decision and I'm going to vote nay.
Okay.
Some people that understand how we go. I mean, I know they all do, but.
The motion passes. And I would encourage Wright to seriously think about all this and think about how you're affecting the neighborhood and make this, do the right thing. So thank you. All right.
I move that we adjourn.
Okay.
Can I, oh, no, sorry.
Oh, Bren.
I'll just quickly say on behalf of city staff, heartfelt thank you to council members Debbie Loray and Terry Peterson for your selfless service and our appreciation for tackling difficult issues. And I'll also say in all sincerity that I know that together, due to your help, we've been able to accomplish things that we couldn't have otherwise done on our own. So just thank you from staff.
Thank you, Bren. We'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you
I
for
make a
coming.
motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
Aye.
I thought we
Aye.
did that. We're adjourned.
Bye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.